Good day and welcome back to another DBZ Dokkan Battle video. So in this video we are going to take a more of a in-depth look at the Majin Buu Saga Extreme Z area event. So this Extreme Z area event actually originally came out with the download celebration, and this is an update to it to provide an EZA for the Yamu and Spopovich card and the Int Teen Gohan, which transforms into Great Saiyaman card. So stages 1, 2, and 3 were the original stages, and now stages 4 and 5 are the brand new stages. So as per every EZA area, continue and sport items aren't allowed. We've already done stages 1, 2, and 3, and we're going to take a look at stages 4 and 5. Now, the main thing in terms of these stages is that you can roughly use around about the exact same team. So every single time what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to go and pick up all these free-to-play units first. The Yamu and Spopovich, the Gohan, the Goku, the Hercule and Buu, the Oob, all of them you're going to want to pick up because all of these units can be used in all of these EZAs. You're also going to need to go and pick up some of the other units from the other events. But more importantly, we're just going to focus on stages 4 and 5 and see what we need there. So you need Gohan and you need Yamu and Spopovich. The Hercule and Buu will be your friend unit for every single stage, which means a Majin Buu Saga based team is your best bet. And also you're going to want to go and get other Majin Buu Saga based units, and Hercule and Buu is going to be the number 1 unit for you because of the fact that they're the lead. Then you can go and take a look at the stage. Now obviously in terms of all the stages before, you can see they have different character requirements. These characters come from various different stages. The majority of them come down from the showdown stage. Stage 1 gives you the Hercule and Buu medals, stage 2 the Goku medals, stage 3 Oob, stage 4 Gohan, and stage 5 Yamu and Spopovich. As per always, the left hand side of the path will give you the bronze medals, the right hand side the silver, and then in stage 2, gold on the left hand side and rainbow on the right hand side. You can get question marks for bonuses, so that's where you're going to want to focus. You get all the characters from all of these events pretty much, the majority being from the Ultimate Final Battle, where you get Hercule and Buu in the first stage, Goku in the second stage, and you get Oob from stage 9 and stage 10. These 3 units will be the backbone, and you're going to need to, as always, get 15 copies of the units because, 19 copies of the units, because you're going to need the extra SA for when you EZA them. That being said, it pretty much follows the exact same standard procedure as the previous EZA area, the Warriors of Universe 7 that I've done a guide on, and you pretty much just follow it from there. The World Tournament Reborn is where you're going to pick up Gohan Teen and where you're going to pick up Yamu and Spopovich, and that's going to be the 2 units that you need for the 2 new stages. Once you have those 2 units done, once you have 19 copies of each, make sure that you have 10 medals for the first copy and 10 medals for the second copy, so 20 medals in total. You're ready to go and do your EZA. So do that first. Go to these events, farm yourself 19 copies of Hercule and Buu, 19 copies of Goku, 19 copies of Oob, get yourself the 19 copies of Gohan, of Yamu and Spopovich, and get yourself the 20 medals you need of each of them, so that when you come to this EZA area, you're ready to get going. So, that being said, we're going to start with stage 4, Hercule City's new hero, and we're going to go for it on Z hard difficulty. You can see we set up the team to only use free-to-play units. As always, there are a selection of normal units or summonable units that you can use, units like TN for example. Ideally, I don't use those when I'm doing these guides, just because obviously a lot of other players won't have access to these units. You will notice for the majority that most of my units are rainbowed. The reason most of my units are rainbowed is because I use them in tons of SBR guide videos and how to do SBR with free-to-play units and things like that. So I have actually been rainbowing most of them. A super helpful unit for this stage is going to be the LR Friend Summon Great Saiyaman, the physical one, because of their big defensive boost and their massive linking with this Great Saiyaman. However, they are quite difficult to get for new players. They require a lot of friend points to get, they require a lot of luck on those summons, and then they're quite an intense grind actually to awaken. So if you don't have them, suitable options will be any of the Goku's family units that you can get with chocolate from the Majin Buu revival event. You will need those units anyway for the Goku stage of the event. Stage 2 of this event does require those units, so you can slot in any of those units. I personally prefer the physical Goku due to his evasion ability. I believe that helps out a lot more than a lot of the other ones. But as you can see, we're not having too many problems here. Obviously, due to the fact that we've done the event already, we have already EZA'd Hercule, Goku, and of course Oob. I highly suggest when you do this event to start with Hercule as your EZA. The reason I suggest starting with Hercule as your EZA is because he is the Majin Buu Saga lead. So upgrading him will upgrade your leader skill, which will increase your overall team's base stats. From there, you can pretty much do these in any single order that you wish. You can do them all kind of like in a batch. You can do, I always prefer to do all of the Bronze Awakenings, then all of the Silver Awakenings, then all of the Gold Awakenings, and your team will progressively get better. That being said, you can go and try and do like Hercule first. The stages aren't too hard. As I said, there are some summonable characters that can take on the stage. You will see there the physical Goku, Int, Gohan, and the Strength Goten, which you can get with chocolate. Those are going to be units that you can really rely on to fill in the free-to-play slots, and you're going to need them for stage 2 with Goku. So like I said, that's pretty much where you're going to want to focus. In terms of Gohan, we obviously just did his stage, but he does get a pretty decent awakening. He becomes a Defenders of Justice lead, which isn't necessarily the greatest category lead to be, and we don't have a lot of leads for those categories, but it's a very strong free-to-play category. Of course, his passive becomes very impressive against extreme types, so I do suggest that you focus on Gohan before you do Yamu and Spopovich. That being said, of course you can go in whatever order suits you, but as always I think it's best to focus on these type of things. Of course Gohan is also quite weak to physical types, and you do have Oob and you have the Great Saiyaman friend Ella if you can get them as viable physical options, which will speed up your time against the Gohan. There's not that many great tech free-to-play units that fall into this category, so we're going to try and avoid that for now and rather work on increasing the strength of our team. That being said, of course, we will move on to the next stage, stage 5, and we'll try it out at this difficulty, of course, just to try out the team. We're going to run the same team. Again, having the LR is a very, very helpful option. Of course, I do suggest the physical Angel Goku, who is a Goku's family support and has a chance of evasion. He's going to be good against the Teen Gohan because he's going to be physical type, and his evasion and supporting 2 units like the Int SS3 Goku are really going to help him out in terms of his performance and damage against Yamu and Spopovich. Everything else pretty much is straightforward. There's not too much to say in terms of team building or anything like that. For older players who will have done these first 3 EZAs, things are going to be a lot easier. For newer players, what you're going to want to do is, like I say, you're going to want to go to the events, get your 19 copies of Hercule and Buu, get your 19 copies of Goku, get your 19 copies of Oob, get your 19 copies of Gohan Teen, get your 19 copies of Yamu and Spopovich. I know it seems like a lot, but you're going to want to do that first, because that's really going to help you guys out in terms of just kind of getting ready for this event, getting the whole team together, getting everything put together, and it's going to make it a lot easier to take on this EZA. It's going to make it a lot easier, a lot smoother process. You're going to be less limited. You're going to have just a better, like, smoother, more transition, like, manageable event and attempts than if you don't. And because of that, it makes it pretty easy. Get the free-to-play units and go awaken them. They're all very good under a proper lead. They're all very strong. Obviously, the highlights are going to be the Yamu and Spopovich and the Gohan Teen, mainly because obviously Yamu and Spopovich is a more recent one, and of course Gohan Teen falls under Defenders of Justice and is a pretty good unit underneath there. His passive makes him actually pretty strong against extreme type units, even for a free to play card. So yeah, pretty good overall. Obviously in terms of that, we have some missions. So from the missions perspective, all pretty stock standard. There are others, some older missions that you will have done if you are a older player. If you are a newer player, they will be new missions for you. However, they are all pretty much the same thing. So obviously they are clear the stages once, clear them 5 times, and clear them 10 times. For the most part, they just give you Zenny and a stone each time. So you're looking at roughly another 5 or so stones from this mission situation, along with a bit of Zenny. Of course, for new players, you're going to struggle with Zenny, with awakening so many units at once. That is one of those things, so unfortunately you are going to need to go and farm some Zenny. I have plenty guides up about how best to farm Zenny, but if you do still struggle with it, you can leave a comment down below. That being said, we will skip ahead to when we are ready to take on the next stage of the easier area, with our units awakened beyond bronze and silver. Now we've obviously jumped ahead in time. This is me many moons older. No, I'm just kidding. It should take you roughly 5 attempts or so per stage to awaken the units, because hopefully you get a question mark. Otherwise it's going to take you 6 attempts. Remember please that bronze medals are on the left path and silver medals are on the right path, and in the second difficulty gold is on the left and rainbow is on the right. That being said, we are going to take on the next stage. You can see that our Yamu and Spopovich and our Gohan teen are indeed awakened up to level 130, and now we're going to tackle the second difficulty of Hercule City's new hero. The one thing you're going to want to be aware of in this battle here specifically is that you can seal Gohan. So Gohan can be sealed. He can be sealed pretty much in both difficulties, and so can Yamu and Spopovich. So it's really going to help you if you bring a unit that can seal them. They are immune to stunning and immune to defense lowering, but they can be sealed, so that's a very big plus. Obviously it does help quite a bit. Units like Yamu and Spopovich can take quite a bit of damage in the beginning. That is just something that happens to them. So you're going to want to be careful and kind of move those guys off rotation, and more stick along the lines of units like Hercule and Buu with their evasion and their defense reduction, and units like the Int Goku who have high base stats and also a higher defense at the start. Of course, everything else is pretty stock standard. Same kind of premise as before. Unfortunately, Gohan's evasion and all his benefits don't really kick in here against himself because he's not an extreme unit, but everything else should be good to go. Goku's going to be a massive form of damage here, and it's all going to depend on how far along the spectrum you have these units. But for the most part, these units will be fine if they're all awakened to rank 130. Of course, as always, I do suggest finishing Hercule first. So if you are a new player, please make sure that you go in sequence. Try and finish that Hercule first so that you can get that massive leader skill upgrade before taking on any of the other stages 2, 3, 4, and 5. And make sure that you obviously just do the team in sequence. It's going to really help you out. It's going to make the whole team better. And overall, it's just a better situation for you. Other than that, we don't have too many troubles here. Try and pick the same type orbs up to generate healing for yourself. But other than that, you shouldn't have too many issues in terms of, just performance or anything like that. It will be somewhat challenging if you haven't put the orbs or anything in like I have. But for the most part, you should be okay. Just make sure you're keeping up with everything, that you're training your units, that you're awakening them, and that you're filling out their levels. We will need to do that 5 times, hopefully, because hopefully you get a question mark, and then we'll be able to awaken Gohan. At this point, I do suggest finishing off the units rather than like switching between Gohan and Yamu, or Goku to Gohan, or whatever the situation is. Once you start doing the second difficulties, rather focus on finishing off units. Like I say, start with Hercule, finish him off, then move on to Goku, finish him off, then move on to Oob, and keep that trend going. That way your team is actually getting consistently stronger, and you're actually going to be having an easier time as the stages go along, which is kind of a big deal. What you can do is you can jump to doing Yamu and Spopovich at the end before doing maybe a unit like Oob if you're struggling, because he is a physical type and there's a lot of good int units that we use. But it's going to be up to you. Whatever order you're comfortable with is whatever order you're comfortable with. There's no real way for me to tell you go do this one, go do that one, as long as you're doing them somewhat in order. The only one I generally do say is Hercule, because he's going to be your main source of a leader skill, and that's kind of a big deal. But that being said, Yamu and Spopovich don't seem to be as difficult as Gohan. Not entirely certain why. They just didn't seem as bad. They can also be sealed, so you're going to want to keep that in mind, so that you can obviously prevent, taking massive damage from super attacks or anything like that. So there's something you're going to want to kind of keep on the top of your head, just to make sure that you are keeping them sealed and out of the way, basically. But beyond that, obviously our Gohan has his full passive activated here, which is really going to help us out quite intensely. And what you can do is, if you do have the friend Great Saiyaman, because they'll be more than fine defensively, you can actually use their 18 key to boost the damage of your other units if you want. Otherwise you can just use their 12 key to seal the units. It's going to depend on whatever you feel like you need at the time. Obviously, maybe when you're first starting out, still awakening units, going for the seal will be better, but maybe going for the 18 key, when you all set up and ready to go, is the correct way to go about it. But yeah, that's pretty much it in terms of these two stages. They weren't too difficult. Obviously, that's coming from someone who has Easy 8, Hercule, Goku, and Oob. So if you plan on doing these stages and you want to repeat them exactly like I have, or use the same build, you are going to have to do those 3 units first before you go and attempt these stages. But of course, a stone for each difficulty, so that's really cool, and we'll start farming the medals. So what I will do is, of course, I will jump back when I have finished farming the necessary medals, so that we can take our final look at the Gohan and the Yamu. Yamu and Spopovich. So again, we jump to the future. I have now completed my grind. I have farmed all the medals. You can see Gohan is at his final step. So we will awaken him and just get him to the next step. You can see his SA level goes up to 15. We're going to now train him to level 140. And we're going to include this Gohan unit that I have trained to SA5 and Dokkan Awakened. You can see that Gohan has a 5 SA, and that Gohan's SA goes from 10 to 15. So that's why you need the 19 copies, because now our Gohan is complete. Please make sure when you're doing this that you choose the correct units. You really don't want to accidentally feed your orb invested or rainbowed unit that you've been easy-aing and spending medals on to your SA5 copy. We'll also awaken Yamu and Spopovich, and we'll go to their training, and as you can see, we can select our Yamu and Spopovich. They are also SA5, as you can see down below, and they will also raise the SA of them from 10 to 15. So that's pretty much finishing both of these units. Everything is pretty good from that aspect, and we are finally done with the grind. As always, you will need to do it 3 times on the bronze side, 3 times on the silver side, 3 times on the gold side, and 3 times on the rainbow. You will need in total 20 bronze medals, 42 silver medals, 30 gold, and 30 rainbow. That's pretty much that for the facts. But if we take a look at the event, we'll just quickly brush over the other 3 units. Obviously, please bear in mind that this Easy A area does include 3 other units that came with the download celebration. It was a big thing at the time. So we've got the Gohan Teen, who's very, very good here. We've got the Yamu and the Spopovich, who are great. And then of course we have the Buu and Hercule. You can see they're the Majin Buu Saga category lead, which we really, really do need to help us out. They can also transform when things get a little bit dicey, so that's also great, of course. Then we have Goku, who is not necessarily a Majin Buu Saga lead, he's a final trump card lead. but he's really good and great in offensive situations, and when you are low on health he transforms or deactivates, which allows you to kind of do a final stand and dish out even more damage. And then of course we have Oob, who is a interesting unit based on Goku's presence. That's it from me guys, hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, stay safe, cheers, and bye!